Chapter 728. From the Pingjiang district in the southwest of Xia City to the Lilan district in the northeast, there was a large diagonal that ran through the entire city. Normally, this traffic line was known for being busy and congested. Luo Nan rushed out of the classroom. He grabbed a flying beetle before most people got off work and hurried over to the Shangding building. The road conditions were much better than normal at this time, but Luo Nan only felt that it was slow. At this moment, he especially missed the days when Qin Ikuan and God accompanied him, especially the latter's flying car. It was fast and stable, and it could reach the destination in one stop. It was much better than the metal worms that were circling between the buildings. Luo Nan sat in the car. He was clearly going in a straight line, but he had to make turns. It was hard for Luo Nan to not be impatient. Luckily, Octopus was always online, chatting with him. They're going through the reward channel. They even sent photos and some photocopies. There's no need to doubt the authenticity. It's just that they don't think highly of my title as an agent, so they want you to personally negotiate with them. Thank you, bro Octopus. At this very moment, the bit of resentment regarding the paternity test had long since been tossed beyond the highest heavens. Luo Nan only had gratitude towards Octopus. Deep gratitude. The reward channel the two spoke of was the mission reward area on the official website of the Ability User Society. It was the only official channel for ability users, their various powers, and organizations to realize employment. Luo Nan's grandfather's notebook was hung here to accept the reward. It was Octopus's doing. It happened at the end of September last year. At the time, Luo Nan had just finished his first mission after joining the Xia City branch. He went to the sanatorium to visit his grandfather and unexpectedly reunited with Octopus, who he had cooperated with on the mission. Luo Nan admired Octopus's ability to concoct drugs. Octopus, on the other hand, was very interested in Luo Yuandao's nerve-strengthening drug formula and the corresponding theory in Luo Yuandao's notebook. The two reached an agreement. Octopus would help Luo Nan concoct the drug, and Luo Nan would authorize Octopus to make a rubbing of the notebook for in-depth research. Later, Luo Nan rapidly broke through the limits of the self-format. Drugs and whatnot were no longer of use to him. Octopus kept on studying Luo Yuandao's notebook and published many papers one after another. He could be considered the first person to open the door for formatting theory. Both sides of the transaction were interesting people. Luo Nan's drug concoction had been set aside, but he believed that Octopus's research on his grandfather's notebook provided solid proof for the value of formatting theory, so he was very satisfied. As for Octopus, the drug concoction conditions he had originally agreed to were now useless, but he didn't want to take advantage of Luo Nan. So he paid out of his own pocket to rent a long-term advertising spot in headquarters' official bounty area, offering a bounty for the whereabouts of Luo Yuandao's notebook. Octopus had mentioned this matter to Luo Nan before, but Luo Nan had forgotten about this matter after half a year had passed until today. Compared to the restless Luo Nan who had heard the good news, Octopus, who had originally intended to use this to make up for his crimes, had regained his rationality earlier. He fiercely gave Luo Nan a heads up, since the other side has proposed negotiations, they certainly won't be satisfied with the bounty on the list. Right now, your status and value are different. The name formatting theory has undergone an earth-shattering change compared to before. To be honest, the price hanging on it doesn't match. We have to be prepared for the price to be raised. Yes, I know. Hey, you're clearly going to get ripped off if you negotiate in this state. Don't forget, this is just one of the hundreds and thousands of notebooks your grandfather has. If the first standard is raised too high, then the rest will really explode. No matter how good your credit rating is, it won't be able to fill this bottomless pit. Yes. I know. Fine. Let's find external help. Octopus looked at Luo Nan's dishonest appearance and felt despair. He was a young man. Once his emotions got to his head, he would certainly disregard the consequences. He knew that he wasn't a negotiation expert, and he wasn't someone who could persuade Luo Nan. He could only place his thoughts on someone else. If there's something, find the secretary. I'll ask Vice President He and have her come over to help you negotiate. Yes, yes. I understand. No matter what happened, Luo Nan, who was burning with anxiety, arrived at the Shangding building half an hour later. He headed straight for He Yuan's office upstairs. He Yuan and Octopus were already waiting. The two were in the middle of a discussion about the identity of the person receiving the bounty. He Yuan was very concerned about this point. Since we're going to negotiate face to face, why do we need to remain anonymous in advance? Maybe it's a habitual setting. I'm also used to being anonymous when I shop online. He intentionally changed the subject when you asked him just now. Could it be an acquaintance, an enemy? Octopus felt that he was a good person and didn't have many enemies. He naturally turned his gaze to Luo Nan, who had just pushed open the door and entered. Right now, Luo Nan's mind was filled with notes and notes. He forced a smile at the two and said, "You'll know when you see him. Brother Octopus, I'll trouble you to contact him. We'll talk face to face." "That's fine. But you're just going to talk like this? Shouldn't you be sitting in a boss chair, separated by an office desk, and have a secretary standing next to you or something?" "Hiss, you're wearing a school uniform." Luo Nan knew that Octopus was purposefully teasing him, but he still couldn't help but grin. His mood was a bit more relaxed. "Yeah. I hope they'll give me a discount on account that I'm a poor student." He nodded to He Yuan as he spoke. "Sister Yuan, I'll have to trouble you again today." "It's what I should do." He Yuan responded with a smile. Today, He Yuan was still dressed in formal business attire. Her hair was tied up, and she wore a simple and generous white shirt on her upper body. Her lower body wore dark-colored trousers paired with heels of the same color. The color was low in saturation, but at the same time, she still looked capable and refreshing. She looked a bit more gentle than usual. Needless to say, this kind of makeup, her slightly drooping cheeks, her solemn and dignified aura, and she quietly stood slightly behind Luo Nan. She really did have the style of a first-class secretary. It was just that the school uniform of a certain someone in front of her was too out of character. "I'll be in charge of communication. You'll be in charge of showing your face. Secretary, he will be in charge of negotiating the price. The division of labor is clear. We can't interfere with each other. Especially when negotiating the price. Do you understand?" The three people stood in front of the office desk. Octopus opened up the communication function of the official bounty channel. Since this wasn't an instant communication, Octopus didn't expect Luo Nan to pick up immediately. He seized this time to brainwash Luo Nan with high intensity. Luo Nan let out a breath and was just about to respond when he saw the projection in front of him open automatically. It showed that Luo Nan had received the message and had agreed to make a video call. He's here. The gazes of the three people focused on the projection area at the same time. First, a deep blue sky appeared over there. There seemed to be the whistling sound of the wind. The camera here shook endlessly. A face that seemed to be male entered and exited the image several times. It was only after a few adjustments that it finally stabilized. "Oh, Luo Nan, Boss Luo. I see the real person. It really was a male." He spoke in a slightly resounding tone and spoke in a familiar manner. He felt like a rather extroverted person. Truth be told, this person's appearance was a bit simple and clumsy. His forehead was quite a bit wider than an ordinary person's. His eye sockets were deep, making his forehead look like a deformed bulge. It was quite eye-catching. Luo Nan subconsciously examined him. "Oh, why does he look a bit familiar? Have I seen him somewhere before? A thought suddenly sprouted in his mind. Before he could react, he heard Octopus groan to the side, "Crap." The person in front of him had already cracked a smile at this time. He laughed happily. "This is the first time we've met. But you should have heard of me before. I'm a horned demon." "Aw." Luo Nan was stupefied when he suddenly heard this title. That's right. He really had heard of this name before. Just an hour ago, Mr. Bai was drinking and discussing heroes. He had even mentioned this person. The horned demon was the only one Luo Nan had never seen out of the several veteran B-rank psychic types in Xia City. Hold on. They were from the same branch. This should be a good thing. Why did Octopus say crap? Right when Luo Nan was confused, the horned demon's line of sight had already shifted. It streaked across Octopus's face and finally stopped at Heir. His long and narrow eyes, which appeared especially bright and clear, froze. Then a smile blossomed on his face as his entire face revolved around these eyes. "Oh, oh, oh. Look what I see. A beautiful woman. A woman." The horned demon's tone became even more resounding, so much so that there were signs of his voice breaking. He was like a lousy opera singer who began his performance in front of the camera. "I don't know how to address this lady. Wait a moment. Let me guess. I don't know anyone from the branch, but there's such a stylish beauty. Don't tell me she's the legendary vice president of the Burners, someone's professional secretary, Mrs. Heir." Wasn't his performance a bit too exaggerated? Luo Nan's brow subconsciously wrinkled, and the horned demon's face abruptly disappeared from the camera in the next second. This time the camera followed up in a timely manner. It scouted down and captured the figure of the horned demon. The camera only reflected the back of the horned demon. This was because the horned demon's knees and hands had fallen to the ground, ignoring the filthy dust and mud. His head heavily smashed onto the countless wrinkles of the red earth wasteland. At the same time, he loudly shouted, "Grandma Yuan, I'm sorry." Luo Nan was stupefied, but Yuan reacted faster as the person directly involved. She whispered in his ear, "I'm going to hide for a bit." Then she flashed out of the door. On the other side of the camera, the horned demon straightened his upper body. He raised his hands in an exaggerated manner before knocking them down again. He was still shouting, "Grandma Yuan, I'm sorry. Grandma Yuan, I'm sorry." After shouting 3 times and kowtowing 3 times, the horned demon crawled up from the ground. He patted off the dust and mud as if nothing had happened. "Done. What's going on?" Luo Nan was really confused. No matter how much he imagined, no matter how detailed, it was impossible for him to think of this situation. Octopus held his forehead with his hand, covering half of his face. He lowered his voice and said, "This is the reason why the horned demon lingered in the wilderness. Back then, he suffered a crushing defeat against Her Majesty Empress Wu. The agreement he accepted was that he would kneel down and shout, 'Grandma, I'm sorry,' 3 times whenever he meets a woman within 3 years. Only he could endure this kind of condition. Her Majesty Empress Wu. Right now, it's not related to Empress Wu, right?" On the other side of the projection, the horned demon wiped his forehead in passing, but it made the mud even clearer. He didn't care. At the very least, this was what he said, "Right now, it's about the bounty. You guys only put up 10 points. This is too insincere. With Boss Luo's current status, it shouldn't be a problem to multiply it by 100, right? 1,000 points. Why don't you just rob a bank?" Octopus slammed the table. "You think selling you is worth 1,000 points?" The horned demon simply didn't respond to Octopus's words. He extended 3 fingers and shook them in front of the camera. Also, the 3 kowtows before were solid enough. "Isn't it interesting to watch? Hee hee. That's not free. 3 times. Raise it by 3 times and this notebook will be yours. Chapter 729. Increasing it by 3 times would make it 3,000 points. Frankly speaking, Luo Nan didn't have any special intuition when he heard the number that jumped out of the horn demon's mouth. This was because he had yet to establish a direct perception of the purchasing power of honor points. Octopus slammed the table at this time. Horn demon, what the hell are you doing? Is the ability user society going to collapse? Are the points useless? Are UF** King dreaming? Oh my, now that you're following a new boss, even a soft octopus can explode with thorns. The horn demon mocked mercilessly. He turned to Luo Nan and made a zipping motion with his mouth. Shut him up, or else we can multiply the number. Luo Nan stared at the image of the horn demon. Common sense finally struggled out from the depths of his restless heart and arranged into a series of normal logic. The price of labor in the ability user society was relatively stable. 1 to 2 points could be used to hire high-level professional support personnel to carry out non-combat missions. 3 to 4 points was basically the highest reward assigned for a group combat mission. 5 points and above could be considered a high reward. 10 points was a sky-high price. Usually, it was the price paid by extraordinaries or the use of high-level public resources. If it was a bit more mundane, 1 point could be exchanged for 1 million according to the market price of credit points. However, this was a publicly recognized price that was lagging behind. Practically no ability user would do such a stupid thing. Luo Nan opened the credit system due to the negative value of his points during the 2000th miss incident. His credit limit at the time was 1,000 points. In theory, that was an overdraft of his strength and potential at the time. It was the highest evaluation. In this sense, Octopus had a basis for saying that the horn demon wouldn't be worth 1,000 points even if he sold himself. Of course, Luo Nan's credit limit was 1,800 points. He was basically at the highest level below extraordinaries. His savings reached 700 points. This was accumulated over the past 4 months through the usage fees for the SVIP model of the Psychic Wave Network, the design fees for the Blood Intent Ring Fortress Login Bracelet, and several lectures. Luo Nan was definitely at the level of a rich person in the inner world. However, if he let the horn demon take 3 or 2 times, he would be emptied of his assets if he were to complete the transaction. Then he would have to sell his blood. In other words, a certain amount of stimulation was needed when a person was anxious. Luo Nan had no concept of money, but he could tell if others were treating him as a fool. The corners of his mouth twitched. The same thing has a different value in everyone's heart. Therefore, a transaction is a voluntary transaction. However, if one party isn't sincere, then there's no way to talk about a voluntary transaction. The centaur immediately applauded. Look, Boss Luo is quite good at speaking. To be able to say doubtful words so beautifully. That's good. Young people shouldn't do things based on subjective feelings. Luo Nan directly retorted back, if it wasn't for my subjective feelings, why would I rush over for half an hour to negotiate with you over an old-fashioned notebook that may have already been photocopied by you several dozen times? Aside from its value as a memento, it doesn't have any other meaning. The horn demon revealed an exaggerated smile, but Luo Nan didn't wait for him to follow up. He stared at him and said, we are all on the mental side. We are all psychics. If we throw away our subjective impressions and intuition, what is left? These words finally warped the horn demon's smiling face. His long and narrow eyes widened a bit as he stared at Luo Nan. It looks like we need to revise our impressions of each other. And also our bargaining chips. Luo Nan pursed his lips and watched the performance of the horn demon with cold eyes. It was just as he had said to the horn demon. A psychic and a psychic basically relied on their subjective intuition when looking at people. Impressions were very important, and the horn demon's performance from the beginning until now made it very hard for Luo Nan to face him with the attitude of an equal trader. The horned demon really didn't walk this path. He widened his smile once more and a strange voice came out from his throat. Hua, I really don't like the look in your eyes right now. The reason why I'm still able to maintain my communication with you is because my thirst for honor points is even stronger. Also, you need to maintain your respect for your seniors, kid. Otherwise, you will very likely regret your impulsive attitude. I'll pay attention. Luo Nan responded indifferently. TSK, it looks like you guys have some misunderstandings about me being low-key before. Okay, after all, I've cautiously suppressed some of the details of the goods since I haven't seen the owner before. But now is the time to change your opinions. Dang 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 dang. A new picture replaced the horned demon's face in the projection area along with the background music. The most eye-catching position in the picture was still the old-fashioned notebook that Luo Nan had seen before. But compared to the monotonous background of the earlier picture, this picture was really messy. But it was this messy mess that attracted all of Luo Nan's attention. This was because he saw the notebook, a large number of old-fashioned notebook pages. They were piled together in a messy manner. There were already ruined wooden shelves and debris of earth and stone on top of them. Looking at the remaining parts, it should have been a bookshelf before. It collapsed due to decay or some other external force. The notebooks placed on top of it fell down one by one. Some of them rolled and spread out. Some of them were stacked on top of each other. Some of them were submerged in the earth and stone. Some of them had already rotted under the damp environment. The handwriting was deformed. Luo Nan didn't know if he had unearthed these things from the details or if it was an uncontrollable imagination in his mind. It was just like the surging tide of emotions in his heart that were nearly out of control. All of these stimulated a part of his physiological instincts. His eyes were moist and hot, and his fingertips were faintly trembling. Yes, yes, yes. That's the look in your eyes. I like your reaction. A filial child. A student who made mistakes. A gambler who lost his capital. The image of the horned demon reappeared. It was like an aria with an undulating tone. It was like the sharp laughter of a devil. It reverberated back and forth in the space presented by the picture. This is my sincerity and bargaining chip. Thinking back to when I first discovered them, I was so tired that my back ached from organizing them. I felt like I had lost 10 years of my life. Boss Luo, do you understand now how sincere the price of 1,000 points was? But the problem is that a man's dignity needs to be vigorously protected. So I don't just mind the wrong position of your beautiful secretary. I also mind the attitude you had when speaking to me just now. I need mental compensation. Yes. What should I multiply it by next? Horned demon, don't go too far. Octopus hated that he couldn't reach out and drag the horned demon out from the projection area. The horned demon spread out his hands and faced Luo Nan, and Octopus stares with a warped and ostentatious smile. I said that you will regret it. This is because you are unable to refuse my bargaining chip and trump card. Then 4 times. The horned demon held his belly in laughter when he saw Octopus' face suddenly change color. Relax. Relax. For the sake of our fellow Xia City branch companions, I will take care of your actual purchasing ability. I'm talking about 4 times the minimum of 1,000 points. 4,000 points. Octopus no longer dared to speak at this time. The horned demon began to perform like a stage play. You can think that I'm opening my mouth like a lion. You can also bargain as you please. And I will adjust the price at any time according to your performance. It's possible to increase it again. But please pay attention. Right now, I need to emphasize the main point. This is because I have a request that cannot be refused. He drew a circle in the air. Only a second later did Luo Nan realize that it was the sign of a clock's hand turning a full circle. This transaction needs to be completed within 12 hours. 12 hours. That's right. I know that there are too many capable people by Boss Luo's side. Chapter 730. Oh, from what you're saying, you want to proceed with the next transaction. Faced with Luo Nan's inquiry, the horned demon first grinned. Then he displayed exaggerated emotions and sympathy. I understand your mood, Boss Luo, but I must tell you sincerely that this is truly valuable information. Moreover, it is still in the process of rapidly increasing in value. And the most crucial factor in the increase in value is you. The more famous you are, the higher your status is, and the value of this clue will increase correspondingly. So much so that you, Boss Luo, who perfectly created this trend, can't afford this price. The evil capitalistic society is just this shameless. Actually, quite a few people have already offered a price for it. I'm currently deliberating. That's right, I can tell from your eyes that your guess is correct. I will do my best to utilize the practical value of these notes. In any case, you just want a commemorative value, right? The horned demon quickly returned to his distorted smiley mode, and he laughed even more cheerfully. It's still the same words. Everyone needs to revise their impressions of each other. Actually, I'm a good person, but it's not easy for people to understand me. I especially need people's respect and trust. I hope you won't disappoint me, Boss Luo. Okay, Boss Luo, you must make a decision now. Decide whether or not you want to continue this delightful transaction. If you agree, then send the deposit to my account first. Let me hear a ding. Then we'll have plenty of time to decide on the subsequent price and the location of the next transaction. Oh, I still need to remind you out of good intentions. You can see that I'm in the wilderness right now, and transportation isn't very convenient. You need to take this into consideration as well. Looking at it this way, the deadline of 12 hours really isn't that generous. Sweat had already appeared on Octopus's forehead in the office. At this time, a message from the psychic wave network cut in. He subconsciously pressed his ear and turned to look at Luo Nan, but he saw that there was no reaction from Luo Nan. His back was drenched in sweat, but he couldn't hide it. He gave Luo Nan a frantic look. There was no luck involved. His little movements were captured by the horned demon. The horned demon simply didn't pay attention to this side. He just spoke to Luo Nan. Boss Luo, you're now a famous member of society. There's no need to find your parents to feed you. Oh, sorry. Maybe you've never experienced this before. At this time, Octopus forcefully interjected, I don't know what Luo Nan is thinking, but I am very clear that Centaur must have lost his mind. You want Luo Nan to transfer money to you. What method do you use? Don't forget, if the official website had more than 100 points, it would be a huge payment. That was equivalent to hundreds of millions of dollars in funds. It wasn't like it was an organization against an organization, and the system didn't calculate it in real time. Also, when it comes to the stability of credit and currency, there's also a manual audit. Not to mention 12 hours, it might even be 24 hours. How do you calculate the time? The centaur cackled and pointed at the octopus. Such a technical question is definitely not something you can think of. Is that beauty he controlling it from behind? I know what you guys are thinking. You want me to use the high authority channels of the psychic wave network, right? I'm not in Xia City right now. If I want to log in and receive the signal, I'll need to use my own strength to support the signal transmission. Then you can seize the opportunity to lock onto my position. Okay, no problem. I'm a straightforward and upright person. I'll do as you wish. Boss Luo, let's add each other as friends. Oh right, it seems like you still have a recommendation system. Then Octopus, you can be a lackey again. Octopus had already recovered his calm. He turned a deaf ear to the centaur's vile provocation, but he couldn't help feeling a bit anxious when he saw Luo Nan's current state. He felt that Luo Nan's mind was wandering. Luo Nan should be angered by the centaur. Luo Nan's mind must not collapse at a time like this. Luo Nan. The centaur and octopus's continuous greetings finally brought Luo Nan's attention back. He looked at Octopus, and Octopus gestured for him to look at the information sent on the psychic wave network. A new mission channel was established on the psychic wave network. For now, there were only Luo Nan, Octopus, and Heir. Octopus had already sent many messages. The last message was, delay him for a bit more time. He will certainly defend against the psychic wave network, but he can't defend against the sun and the weather outside. We can guess his latitude and longitude and lock onto his position. Let this deal go to hell. Luo Nan was expressionless as he left a message in the mission channel. It's fake. That's fake. Heir's message was practically synchronized with Luo Nan's. Octopus didn't react for a time. What? The scene presented to us by the centaur is fake. Heir explained further, although the angle of the sun's altitude and the progress of the natural light shift are very realistic, if we calculate the latitude and longitude, it should be the Changgang Lake area in the middle of the old continent in the northern hemisphere. The relevant areas are all bodies of water that have been severely polluted by radiation. It's impossible for a large area of the red earth wasteland to exist. Therefore, we can basically confirm that the centaur should be in a highly simulated virtual setting. Holy crap! Octopus's mind nearly collapsed again. Fortunately, his mind was still clear. Then let's go check the deal of renting the virtual setting. Even though his face was expressionless, there were clear traces of gullies on his cheeks. He gave off a grave and stern feeling. Luo Nan was unable to sense any other information aside from this. There was clearly someone there, but on the mental plane, there was a heart-palpitating emptiness. Either the centaur doesn't have any sincerity in the transaction at all, or the transaction does exist, but the delivery has already been arranged. In other words, the centaur isn't alone. He has an unknown team around him. Luo Yuan, who had just left, was a solid hammer. Luo Nan let out a silent sigh. His consciousness floated away, and a strand of his mind fell upon the departing flying car. At this moment, the active water molecules were combining with the cold and humid air flow of the air conditioner in the car, filling the enclosed space of the car and transmitting images and sounds from the other side. The driver who happened to be driving asked, "Isn't it inappropriate to let the centaur be there alone? Why don't I ask little Zhao to come and help?" Luo Yuan sat in the back seat with a straight posture. Only his slightly lowered eyelids showed that his body was in a relatively relaxed state. 2 seconds later, he responded with a rather magnetic hoarse voice, that the treat plan is a matter for the young people. Whether it succeeds or not has nothing to do with me. Since the other side dares to let the centaur take the lead, then let him add a scene there. He has been holding it in for so long that he is going crazy. The driver chuckled. He is originally a lunatic. Ah, sorry. Luo Yuan withdrew his cold eyes, and his hoarse voice maintained a slow rhythm. Volunteers and experimental subjects should be distinguished. No matter how crazy the centaur is, he is still a warrior who actively fights against the genetic barrier. Yes, sir. My mentality is not right. The driver made a slip of the tongue and violated Luo Yuan's taboo. In just these 2 short sentences, a layer of cold sweat had already soaked his forehead. Fortunately, Luo Yuan didn't delve into it. He talked half to himself. The genetic modulation of the centaur isn't successful. The so-called reference model is restored to human DNA, and there will always be strange problems. The centaur is now like dry firewood with oil. Once it burns, the controllability is too low. Maybe these models conflict with the double helix structure. The driver no longer dared to interrupt on this topic. Luo Yuan raised his head to look at the cold sweat on his forehead. Is it going to rain in Huqing? The air is stuffy and humid. Ah, I'll adjust it. The driver was about to adjust the air conditioning function of the flying car when an invisible aura fluctuated from Luo Yuan's body. There was clearly no wind, but the car instantly became refreshed. The inside of the flying car became refreshed, but Luo Nan's consciousness was slightly sluggish. On one hand, he just received a lot of explosive information. On the other hand, the special structure of the water vapor driven by the soul cloak was instantly destroyed by the aura of Luo Yuan's radiation. Luo Nan almost thought that he had been discovered following and monitoring him. Octopus finally confirmed the terms of the agreement. According to the conditions stipulated in the agreement, Luo Nan would send a special person to whose city within 9 hours to receive the 12 notebooks that the horned demon had dug out from Luo Yuandao's wilderness laboratory. 2 of the notebooks were relatively intact, but the remaining 10 were more or less damaged. On average, 1 notebook is exactly 100 points. Thinking about it this way, don't you think it's not that expensive? The horned demon began to show off. If I convert it to credit points, then it's 100 million. I'm using this to buy your life. Do you think that extraordinaries won't be interested? Oh my, I'm so scared. How about this? As a bonus for the deal and to mend our relationship, I will provide you with a copy of the excavation site. We already have our notebooks. What's the use of having a copy? Octopus began to curse. If he didn't do this, he wouldn't be able to vent the resentment in his heart. The horned demon laughed heartily. Octopus, your brain capacity has probably shrunk from taking drugs. I'm not a professional archaeologist. Who would have the time and energy to preserve these tattered notebooks? Many days have passed in between, so quite a few notebooks have been damaged a second time. The things preserved by the photocopies from back then are a bit more complete. What do you guys think? Octopus didn't know what Luo Nan's mood would be when he heard these words. In any case, he kicked the office desk next to him after he cut off the communication. Horned demon, this madman. He's crazy. Luo Nan was startled awake. He subconsciously advised, Bro Octopus, don't be angry. If I'm not angry, then I'm a dead man. 1,200 points. Deducting your savings, there should be a difference of nearly 600 points, right? According to your current credit limit, this sum of money is equal to a third of your life savings being sold to the society. Do you understand? Luo Nan could only laugh. It doesn't matter if it's my value or my grandfather's notebooks. Neither of them can be measured by these points. Octopus was quite interested in Luo Nan's self-produced chicken soup. He Yuan had confirmed the conclusion of the negotiations at this time. She pushed open the door and entered. She looked straight at Luo Nan. As a senior member of the Xia City branch, the attitude and stance of the horned demons are worth discussing. I have already notified President Ouyang, Her Majesty Empress Wu, and Old Yu. We will first have a small meeting to analyze and make the corresponding arrangements. If Mr. Luo has any questions or requests, you can raise them at the meeting. Everyone can solve them together. He carefully flipped through the pages that were already somewhat sticky. Luo Nan recognized with a glance that the clear and blurry handwriting on each page was the handwriting of his grandfather, Luo Yuandao. That's right. It's this. Luo Nan didn't just use video verification. His mental sensing network also followed the relevant location information and quickly locked onto the location. He did even more. In fact, the sensing network of whose city was simultaneously displaying information from multiple levels and multiple angles. Aside from the 2 notebooks that were already exposed on the surface, the horned demon who was gorging himself in a restaurant near the special effects production base and Luo Yuan who was about to enter the airport all left clear and continuous traces of their actions on the sensing network. Luo Nan even used a near-omniscient view mode and a bit of luck to discover the delivery person, who was nervously setting up 20 kilometers away from the first delivery location. Of course, he also carried other notebooks with him. Basically, the protective measures were quite complete. His conjecture matched with reality. If Luo Nan wanted to, he could snatch the remaining notebooks right now and make this kidnapping and blackmail deal go to hell. But Luo Nan didn't make any further moves, just like when he let the horn demon go. But this time there was no fear or helplessness in his heart. What replaced it was a peculiar feeling of anticipation. He needed further verification, but he wouldn't be satisfied with just verification. This game of chess had just begun. Of course, it wouldn't do to simply watch people make their moves. But to directly flip the chessboard right now was truly a reckless waste of God's gifts. Yes, this description was correct. Luo Nan had heard of an even more straightforward description. It came from a fellow psychic, Gao Meng, Gao Tianshi. It seemed to be a bit more appropriate, playing with the spirit of divination, being able to lift up the skirt of the goddess of fate and see the beautiful outline of the future. It's not an easy thing to do. Every time this happens, I don't even have time to enjoy her flirting. How can I destroy it so easily? There's no need to talk about good things. Even if it's a bad thing, I'll grind it to the very end. Then I'll play with a heart-pounding reversal. It'll feel good enough to the bone. Then I won't waste this trip. Back then, Luo Nan just laughed with his head down. He didn't express his opinion. But honestly speaking, he was in a leisurely and fascinated state at the time. He silently gave it a few thumbs up. The older man was talking with spittle flying everywhere, and the younger middle-aged man was listening attentively. The scene was quite harmonious. Gym Master Xiao was actually able to go together with the old man. It's truly an anomaly. The old man's body and mood have taken a great turn for the better recently. Octopus intentionally or unintentionally brought up all good news. Luo Nan was indeed smiling. He maintained this smile for a long time, yeah. It's all thanks to Gym Master. Oh right, bro Octopus. Do you have the latest news? I'm talking about the coordinates of the laboratory. Sister Yuan made a phone call just now. She didn't explain the matter too clearly. Is there trouble again? Octopus originally wanted to completely block out these vexing matters, but Luo Nan's sensitivity and incisiveness made it a bit difficult for him to resist. He hesitated for a moment before saying, "There's no definite news yet. There's just a clue. Secretary, he probably believes that there's no conclusive evidence, so..." What clue? Luo Nan went straight to the point. It's the horn demon. He's been in contact with a few authoritative auction houses of the inner world recently. Apparently, the business he discussed is quite large. There's no concrete evidence for the specific situation or the exact next buyer. Auction. Auction. Luo Nan muttered to himself, repeating this word many times. His brows furrowed. He seemed to be pondering and distressed. Oh no, there's no point in thinking about this right now. Octopus didn't want Luo Nan to waste his brain power on the grapevine. Just as he was advising Luo Nan, his ear vibrated. He Yuan was calling from the psychic wave network. Octopus was a bit startled. He subconsciously walked a distance away before picking up. Before he could speak, He Yuan blasted him with a question, "Have you already arrived at the sanatorium?" "Yeah. I'm chatting with Nanster right now." Octopus instinctively felt that there was something wrong with He Yuan's attitude. What's his current state? What state? He's average. He's alright. What's wrong? Octopus wasn't too sure, and He Yuan's question made his heart flustered. He Yuan didn't say anything more. She immediately sent him a short video. It was clearly an image taken from the elevator's surveillance cameras. Octopus only needed to sweep a glance before he couldn't tear his eyes away. Within the enclosed elevator car, a youth wearing a school uniform was raising his head and pointing forward. His lips were moving as he said something in all seriousness. He was either serious or smiling. It was clear that he was communicating with someone. But in reality, there was nothing else in the direction the youth was pointing at besides the closed elevator door. This youth was Luo Nan. What are you doing there now? Chapter 735. Luo Nan didn't reply to Moya in time. He needed to deliberate properly. Moya didn't care, at least on the surface. She first went to the ward to see her grandfather and took over from Xiao Xinyu. After receiving the reward, Xiao Xinyu slowly walked out of the room. Luo Nan was truly grateful to this teacher. He temporarily set aside the matter of Moya and went to greet him. Gym Master, I've really troubled you. I don't think it's troublesome. Xiao Xinyu's thin face was devoid of expression, but his tone was relaxed. Chatting with Mr. Yuandao is much better than being home alone. Luo Nan forced a smile. Only you. That's not entirely true. I can't say that Mr. Yuandao's mental state is very good, but as long as you grasp the core of his consistency, you will find many interesting things. There were a lot of things I had been thinking about, but I couldn't verify them. Even Mr. Yuandao didn't give a clear answer. It's good to be able to refer to it from a different angle. Xiao Xinyu's eyes moved slightly within his sunken eye sockets. He fixed his gaze on Luo Nan's face. You two are very similar in this aspect. Luo Nan took it as a compliment for the time being. Thank you, Gym Master. Octopus, who had caught up from behind, wailed in his heart. Don't be like him anymore, or I'll really have to hit my head against the wall to atone for my sins. Octopus was afraid that Xiao Xinyu would encourage Luo Nan to run wildly down the wrong path, so he braced himself and interjected. Gym Master Xiao came over this morning to accompany Mr. Luo. You have just recovered from a major illness. You can't be too exhausted. Luo Nan came to a realization. That's right. The gym master needs to recuperate. I'll head back right away. It's just a few steps anyways. Xiao Xinyu readily accepted Xiao Xinyu's advice. Luo Nan and Octopus followed by his side, preparing to send him to the elevator. As they walked, Xiao Xinyu was still talking about Luo Yuandao. Perhaps it was because he had interacted too much today, but he made a rare judgment. Unfortunately, you and Mr. Yuandao seem to have a conflict of logic. Mr. Yuandao is very sensitive and resistant to this, and refuses to communicate with you. Otherwise, you should be the one who understands him the most. Luo Nan believed it. I also have this feeling. Let's observe more and see if we can find a good entry point. Yes, I'll try drawing a portrait for Grandpa later. Portrait? Is that what you psychics call it? Yeah, pretty much. Octopus thought to himself, I've never heard of it. Xiao Xinyu was truly in a good mood. He spoke a lot more. As long as there is a possibility of affecting reality, we can try. In this aspect, you spiritual people have an advantage over physical people. You can imagine it, and we will verify it. Your assumptions can be overturned at any time, but the price we have to pay to verify them is much more tragic. So, I hope you can make more accurate judgments and designs. I'll be counting on you to help Shuelei in the future. Luo Nan instinctively felt that the life experiences of the gym master should be hidden behind these words, not to mention that it involved Shuelei. Luo Nan obviously wouldn't be slow. He responded very seriously, Don't worry, master. Xiao Xinyu nodded slightly and boarded the elevator. The closed metal door separated them from each other's line of sight, but Luo Nan suddenly thought that he could take a portrait of the gym master. He had always been curious as to how the dojo master ended up in such a state of being plagued by all kinds of illnesses with his martial arts cultivation. It was not until the night of New Year's Eve that they found out that it was a genetic problem. When the hospital basically ruled out congenital heredity, strong radiation, and other common factors, the situation became even more confusing. There were some things that were hard to ask, but it was fine to rely on his own observations. It was hard to say whether or not the psychic diagram could reach this step. But this method gave him a clear train of thought. It gave him the ability to grasp key elements. At the same time, it allowed him to examine his own chaotic consciousness. It would be better if he used it more often in the future. From his experiences in learning configuration, he could see that any ability required a large amount of concentration and continuous practice. He also needed precise reflection and feedback. He had the virtual brain system to support him in terms of configuration, so his progress was godly. The psychic diagram was also fine. He would look at the feedback in reality. If it was accurate, then it was accurate. If it wasn't, then it wasn't. If the facts were verified, then the follow-up steps of the treat-to-dinner plan would probably take several days. But if he just used the daily trifling matters around him to practice, he should be able to quickly receive feedback. Then he could layer upon layer, and the results would certainly be decent. Mr. Bai and the others had talked about some common practice techniques in the past, but there were some deviations from Luo Nan's reality. He needed to ponder over a practice plan that was more suitable for him. Though Luo Nan was blocked by the metal door of the elevator, it did not hinder his train of thought from flying and turning. To the side, Octopus's gaze moved back and forth between Luo Nan's face and the blurry mirror image on the elevator door. He subconsciously held his breath. Luo Nan finally felt Octopus's excessive attention. He turned to look at him. "What's wrong?" Octopus went, for quite a while, but he was unable to find a better reason in the end. He could only probe the key issue. "Nanster, there's a lot going on today. You should rest early and let your mind empty." Luo Nan laughed. "Oh, Brother Octopus, I understand what you mean. If some bastard wants to play dirty tricks, we'll let them understand what it means to be too late for regrets." Okay. Luo Nan felt that Brother Octopus was quite excited. He went to make a call after he finished speaking. He called his friends and dispatched them left and right. He was more attentive than his own cousin. Could it be that he was a fan of Emoya? Or was he interested in Emoya? Could this sister's charm be able to invade the inner world? Luo Nan's consciousness shifted when he thought of Emoya. He didn't need to use his eyes to see Emoya. He even had a conversation with his grandfather. She was proficient in the art of speaking. Her tongue was quick and nimble. She would occasionally make the old man laugh. This was something that Luo Nan, who had a logical conflict, was unable to do. Luo Nan couldn't help but feel envious. He sighed. Chapter 736. Reality proved that some things still existed on the ideal level. They were more in line with human thinking and emotional tendencies. Luo Nan drew psychic diagrams for most of the night. He only fell asleep in the wee hours of the morning. He had a rare dream because his thoughts were too active. He was awakened by the vibration of the Heir in this state. He opened his eyes. The sky was just beginning to brighten. He hadn't slept for more than 2 hours. Luo Nan didn't see who the person was. He answered the call in a daze. The voice on the other side carried an unconcealable sense of dejection. "We've more or less investigated clearly. Xia City is very clean. It's purely banned city that's throwing money. They won't give us the chance to get involved easily." Bro Octopus. Luo Nan was able to distinguish who the person was now. He spent 2 seconds to connect Octopus's words with last night's situation. Yes, Octopus had volunteered to investigate the driving force behind Moya's trip to Band City. The results were out now. Should he say that he wasn't surprised at all? Of course, no matter how bad Luo Nan's EQ was, he wouldn't say such stupid things. And he really did need detailed information on Octopus. He needed to compare it with the vague image of the psychic diagram he drew last night. What's the specific situation? Oh, wait a moment. Let me clear my head. Luo Nan closed his eyes and slightly adjusted the flow of his blood. He waited for the drowsiness in his mind to dissipate before speaking. Bro Octopus, continue. Octopus had been restraining his emotions this entire time. He weighed his words over and over in order to avoid giving Luo Nan any negative influence. We looked up the relevant calendar. The announcement of the fan club was nominally a part of the band's City Music Festival. The event itself is formal. It is held every year. It also invites all the famous bands and musicians from all over the world, including some up-and-coming rock bands. Mountain Stream shouldn't be qualified, right? Yes. From what we understand from industry insiders, new bands like Mountain Stream definitely don't have the qualifications to receive an invitation. But they can participate at their own expense and make a name for themselves. Luo Nan sighed, but now someone is paying for them. No one can refuse. So who's paying? Lean Century is a well-known music company in Sakura City and even the world. It's a big shot in the industry and one of the biggest sponsors of the Sakura City Music Festival. Octopus's voice finally sounded a little more distressed. Lean has done a watertight job. This year, they had indeed played a game of throwing money around. In addition to the industry bigwigs that they had invited every year, they had also appointed 3 new bands from each of the 88 metropolitan areas around the world to sponsor their trip to Banqing for free. Completely corporate behavior, through normal channels. Yes, that's the crux of the matter. Through the investigation of the flow of funds and the consultation of the people who handled it, we can basically confirm that Ming Tang culture, where Amoya was from, only saw it as a pie falling from the sky. They went with the flow and were completely in a subordinate position. Luo Nan let out a sigh. I feel like I'm being overly sensitive. No. These are extraordinary times. We can't be too careful. Moreover, there's another news about Mountain Stream's debut in Banqing. Oh. Is there really such a thing? It can only be said to be a rumor, but it's true enough. According to a mid-level employee of Ming Tang culture, most of the bands that Lin appointed as sponsors are actually underground bands. In other words, they aren't signed to a company. It's very likely that Lin will select a few of these bands and sign them to a management contract. Mountain Stream originally had the genes of an underground band. Even though they've already signed with Ming Tang culture, it's very likely that Lin will take over if they're really interested. As long as the price is right, Ming Tang culture won't refuse. Luo Nan grasped the crux of the matter. Why would they be interested? This. Octopus hesitated for a moment before saying, it's just a rumor. Last month, a director of Lin called Yuchuan Aishuk came to Xia City and saw Mountain Stream's performance. He seemed to be very interested. What's Yuchuan again? Yuchuan Aishuk. He's a well-known figure in the industry. He also has the support of his family. He's rich and powerful. Luo Nan went straight to the sensitive part. Is he interested in the band or is he interested in a certain person? I don't know about that. In any case, after he went back, Mountain Stream's name appeared on the newly released sponsor list. It said that Mountain Stream is the only band out of the 261 sponsored bands outside of Band City that have a signed company. Yuchuan Aishuk. Luo Nan was certain that he remembered this name. Is this fellow related to the inner world? Based on the current intelligence, there are basically no traces of him in the inner world. But at their level, even if they lack extraordinary talent, they are basically inextricably linked to this side. Moreover, Band City is one of the regions with the weakest barrier between the mortal world and the inner world among all the large metropolitan areas. Various orders and gangs are like weeds in every corner. With these as a cover, the influence of extraordinary powers can be considered to be a wild growth. Understood. Luo Nan already had a plan in mind. Octopus spoke again. I'm afraid there's nothing to investigate here in Xia City. It'll take a while for news from Ban City to arrive. When is Moya leaving? She's leaving this afternoon at 2:00. But her idea of traveling came too suddenly. There's still a bunch of paperwork to be done. He could see his uncle preparing breakfast in the kitchen. His aunt was in Moya's room, helping her pack her luggage while giving her orders. Moya was fed up from listening to them. She simply ran to the side to make a phone call. It was as if they were traveling companions. As for Mo Peng, he was awake, but he was curled up on his bed playing games. These scenes combined to form a familiar and tireless scene. Perhaps under his pen, in the unrestrained psychic map, this was nothing more than a simple silhouette symbol, but this symbol was engraved at the very core, intertwined with his life, and could not be separated. Naturally, he didn't allow any malicious intent to touch it. Luo Nan's gaze was deep and cold. He opened up the virtual work area and looked at the results of last night's labor. It was quite marvelous. He had clearly used Moya as a clue to trigger events, but Moya's shadow wasn't present in this picture. The elements that appeared included the silhouette of the city's steel jungle. There was also the shadow of a towering ancient tree. There was also a special silhouette that appeared twice, a luxurious cruise ship cruising on the ocean. All right, he could basically confirm it with this. The other side's treat plan was quite persistent. They wanted to get Luo Nan on board by every possible means. Speaking of which, this couldn't be considered a treat. Luo Nan was also picking at words last night, aside from drawing. He specifically went to look up the word guest. But the word that gave him the deepest impression wasn't the word guest itself. It was another word that had a similar meaning to this word, guest. Guest could be called together, but guest meant respect. Guest meant destination. The two were symmetrical. The guest was respected and the guest was humble. The guest was big and the guest was small. The one who formulated the treat plan certainly didn't treat Luo Nan as a VIP. Instead, he only treated Luo Nan as a forceful invitation to achieve a certain goal. In short, the other side lacked respect for Luo Nan. This didn't really matter, but if this disrespect was spread to Luo Nan's family and friends, then they could need as they pleased. Then it was no wonder that Luo Nan wanted to establish the proper respect. Luo Nan let out a long breath. He got up and got off the bed. He stood barefoot on the floor. His gaze passed through the window lattice and cast towards the bright eastern horizon. The mist that came from the ocean unfurled and changed under the illumination of the sun. It was suffused with multicolored light. Chapter 737. Unbeknownst when, the thick clouds had rolled over the mountains in the northwest direction, looming over the surface of the sea. It was as if a great army was pressing down on the border. But in the blink of an eye, it turned into rags riddled with holes. It could not contain the abundant water vapor above the clouds, causing them to pour down in large amounts, forming an overwhelming downpour. It also enveloped the entire cruise terminal in a misty mist. Luo Nan yawned. All right, the traditional event of waving goodbye is over. Moya glared at him. It's not the first voyage. Where did all this nonsense come from? Both of them were right. Even though there was an enclosed viewing platform at the pier, no one on the cruise ship would be in the mood to perform a sailing ceremony in the pouring rain. It was 12:15 in the afternoon, and Moya had spent a lot of time going through the formalities. At this time, she had just finished checking her luggage and was waiting to board the ship. Her pace suddenly slowed down. Since it was a working day, Luo Shuqing was the only one who came along, aside from Mrs. Luo Shuqing, who took a special leave of absence to accompany her. Furthermore, most of his attention was still focused on flipping through the bodyguard information uploaded by the Psychic Wave Network and making his final decision. Don't worry about the details. It doesn't make a difference whether it's 2 or 3. While Jujube was a female, so she could follow the boat here. Because God needed to equip himself to clear the level, he could fly directly to Band City. Add in cat eyes, the radar meat shield, and the firepower support. It'll be perfect. We'll do as you say. That wild Jujube is already at the dock, right? Okay, I see her. Luo Nan gave a slight nod to the muscular and beautiful woman who had just gotten up from the waiting area 30 meters away. He recognized the deep and reserved aura on her body. It could be said that he was acquainted with her, and he established a communication link with her. While Jujube was indeed a professional. He was already in the zone, quietly approaching and entering his work position. Of course, he still had to inform Moya about this, but he could only do so after they arrived at Sakura City. Did you see someone familiar? Mrs. Luo Shuqing turned her head to talk to Luo Nan. She saw Luo Nan's gaze shift, so she asked in passing. Luo Nan was just about to deny it when a familiar silhouette really did appear in his field of vision. Moreover, the silhouette was walking straight in his direction, even raising his hand in greeting. Luo Nan subconsciously looked at the bodyguard's information. He scanned the entire list, but he was still stupefied. This person isn't here. Aunt Qing, Moya, the woman who came over, took the initiative to greet him. She was tall and wore a short shirt and trousers just like Moya. However, she wore a thick long-sleeved shirt inside and a wide-brimmed hat on her head. She looked like a veteran backpacker who could travel to the wilderness at any time. Before Luo Nan could respond, Luo Shuqing laughed to the side. Tang Yi, you haven't been home much these past few years. That's right, Aunt Qing. It's because I'm running around with my teacher. This time, you guys have to take care of each other. Don't worry, Aunt Qing. Luo Nan made a deep self-reflection as he looked at the 3 people chatting and laughing. Was I too much of a homebody these past few years? But right now, the more crucial question was, when did Tang Yi and Peony, his former mission partners, return from Spring City? Why did he suddenly appear at the pier of the cruise ship? Moreover, he seemed to be very familiar with Moya and Luo Shuqing. Let me go through the details. Luo Nan vaguely found a few verifiable clues from the disorderly events, but before he had time to organize them, the bodyguard Wild Jujube had already reported in a low voice, Mr. Luo, this person is Miss Moya's roommate on the ship. He has already passed the risk assessment. Is there a problem? There might not be a problem, but even the society had overlooked an insider under their noses. Her Majesty Empress was capable right-hand man really wasn't easy to deal with. It's nothing. He's an acquaintance. Luo Nan decided to go back and communicate with Her Majesty Empress Wu. Right now, it was more urgent to communicate with Tang Yi herself. He took a deep breath and cast his gaze, drawing Tang Yi's attention. President Tang, there's something I want to consult you about. Mrs. Luo Shuqing was very surprised. Little Nan and Tang Yi know each other. Luo Nan grinned. Yeah. She's his direct superior. Tang Yi smiled. Luo Nan joined the Mystic Arts Research Society at school. I'm an old member there. Due to some personnel changes recently, I temporarily took over the position of president. Of course, it's just in name. Oh, that's quite a coincidence. It's all thanks to this. There's something I want to consult President Tang about. Just call me Big Sister. You don't need to be an outsider. Tang Yi smiled as she took advantage of Luo Nan, but she cooperated with him and walked to the side. Luo Nan adjusted his breathing and decided to cut off all the branches and leaves. He got straight to the point. Well, let's talk about complicated relationships later. Let me confirm something first. Peony, you don't have any missions on hand, right? I've been on a business trip in Spring City for half a year. Whether it's my instructor or my boss, it's reasonable for them to give me some time off. Luo Nan stared at her. It's fine as long as you're not on a business trip. No matter what, we're partners. You and my sister are best friends, so there are some things I don't need to say. Relax. You're looking forward to it. Aha. Luo Nan responded straightforwardly, I don't know when I'll be like Her Majesty Empress Wu and President Ouyang. Luo Nan was currently experimenting in this area. He didn't know what kind of results his design would have in the end. Perhaps true respect would only come after he became an extraordinary. It was useless to think about these things. He just needed to do it bit by bit. At this time, his aunt called out from afar, What are you guys chatting about for so long? Don't delay Sister Tang Yi and the others from boarding the ship. Yeah. It's just some club matters. Don't you want to take a break from school? Ah. Luo Nan quickly gave Tang Yi a meaningful glance, but he was too busy giving her a meaningful glance. He spoke too quickly and touched upon Mrs. Luo Shuqing's reverse scale. He received a death glare and choked for a moment. It took him great effort to continue, I won't be using that laboratory much in the future, so I need to reorganize it. I need to divide it into areas for the club to take over. Sigh. A lot of the equipment is sponsored by the school and investors. There are also some raw materials and the like. There are a lot of accounts that need to be dealt with just the handover. It's impossible to finish it in a day or two. In the end, Mrs. Luo Shuqing favored her nephew the most. From her perspective, it didn't matter how mischievous Luo Nan was in his studies or how dangerous the circle he entered was. Luo Nan's painstaking effort was the reason why the laboratory was able to attract so many investments. It would be too much of a pity if it were to be disturbed. She immediately opened her mouth to help Tang Yi. Regarding the matter of the laboratory, can you be a bit more flexible in terms of time? It's not that easy to handle the procedures for taking a break from school. Tang Yi smiled. She didn't even glance at Luo Nan. She found the feeling of being a partner. Don't worry, Aunt Qing. I still have a bit of influence in the club. Luo Nan isn't an outsider. I'll do my best to relax my time. Actually, the time I've been away on vacation is pretty good. It'll take half a month to go back and forth. I'll mention it to the club right now. Luo Nan just needs to bury himself in organizing. Even if the club has objections, they'll have to wait for me to return. When the time comes, I might be able to buy a bit of time. What do you think? Luo Nan gave Tang Yi a big thumbs up in his mind. She really deserved to be called the best partner. These few short sentences had bought him a lot of free time. Luo Nan immediately straightened his body and spoke in a loud voice, There's no need for Sister Tang Yi to make things difficult for me. I'll make the best use of my time to sort things out. I'll strive to finish everything before you return. So he had to eat and live in the laboratory. Occasionally, he would have to go out and negotiate with people. In this case, he would show his face once every 3 to 5 days and disappear for the rest of the time. Wasn't that very normal? Right now, the biggest problem had been solved. Moya cast her gaze over to Luo Nan and Tang Yi's face. She was quite amused. Luo Nan curled his lips. You've gone through so much trouble. What are you probing for? Moya glared back at him. She actually blinked and lowered her head to look at her watch. It's almost 1 o'clock. We've requested to board the ship an hour earlier. If you keep being long-winded, we'll probably have to jump onto the ship. Luo Shuqing glared back at her, but she turned to reveal a smile at Tang Yi. Luo Shuqing could see that her impression of Tang Yi was quite good. Of course, there was also the factor of Luo Nan. Tang Yi, since you're going to travel, you should properly relax. Take care of each other with Moya. When you come back, come to our house more often to play. Okay, Aunt Ching. I'll urge Amoya to report that she's safe and sound every day. Tang Yi responded calmly. She nodded her head in farewell, then, Aunt Ching, Junior Luo, I'll see you later. The two great beauties, both over 180 centimeters in height, didn't say anything more. They turned around and walked toward the boarding gate. Their tall and slender figures were simply like models walking the streets. They even talked about some topic in the middle of the conversation. Luo Nan could see them look at each other and laugh loudly. They were both candid and lively. It was indeed pleasing to the eye, causing the surrounding men to frequently turn their heads. Luo Nan scratched his head. He felt a bit baffled, but he quickly shifted his attention. His gaze swept past Wild Jujube, who was following behind Amoya. It also passed through the transparent walls of the boarding hall and the misty rain. It swept past Cat Eyes, who had already boarded the ship on the 5th deck. Luo Nan's mental sensing network confirmed that there were no suspicious characters among the 5,000 to 6,000 people on the entire cruise ship. He could relax for the time being. At the very least, he could wholeheartedly do his own things during these 5 days on the sea. He could also make preparations for the more troublesome situation that would follow. There was a time difference of an hour. Night had already fallen in Ban City. The wind and rain on the other side of the ocean didn't stir up the slightest ripple here. Yinluo boarded North Mountain Lake. It was said that several decades ago, this was the location of the ancient capital of the island nation. The ancient capital was originally built next to a mountain. During the Third World War, the capital was destroyed by both the war and the earthquake. More than half of it was submerged by the silt of the lake water that gushed out from the deep mountains 100 kilometers away. Then the seawater flowed back, forming a brand new swamp zone that spanned an area of several hundred square kilometers. Thus, the blue sea turned into mulberry fields. The mountain peaks of this region became islands, scattered across the surface of the lake. It was said that when the weather was good, one could overlook the lake from the island. One could even see the ruins of the lake's bottom. Yinluo didn't come here to admire the scenery. She chose this place because it was the most convenient area for her to do things in the northern end of Ban City. She had arrived in Ban City 2 days ago. Most of the dozens of hours had been spent here. Now that the project was finally completed, all the machinery and personnel had left the site in advance. As far as her eyes could see, there were almost no particularly obvious changes. The buried metal pile foundation and frame structure were integrated with the surrounding rocks and vegetation. It couldn't be said to be ingenious, but it was solid and hidden enough. She looked down at her watch. It was almost time. Everything had been done according to that gentleman's request. What would happen next? Before she could finish her thought, there was a buzzing sound in the void. The air trembled clearly, as if it was resonating with her body. A clear numbness was transmitted from her lips and cheeks to her internal organs. An invisible pressure pushed her back 2 steps. A whirlwind appeared on the flat ground in front of her. Dust and grass flew everywhere, obscuring her vision. She wanted to get closer to take a closer look, but the sudden appearance of lightning and fire formed a barrier, blocking her way. She was shocked. She instinctively stood up straight, looked down, and stood still. All the strange sounds and phenomena ended after 10 seconds. What replaced them was the clear sound of breathing. Yinluo was stunned. She couldn't help but look up. She saw a 16 or 17-year-old youth dressed in casual clothes. He looked like a tourist who had come to play. He looked all around, curiously sizing up the rippling surface of the water. So this is Ban City. Yinluo recognized this person. He looked almost the same as when they first met half a year ago. However, Yinluo had long since lost the mentality she had at Frost River Reality. She only bowed deeply to the youth in front of her. He still looked like a thin and weak youth, and his combat skills were trash in the eyes of professionals like Gym Master Xiao and Shuele. However, after a long period of mutual interference and tempering of the God will and body wheel, there were even more qualitative changes after the awakening. In terms of physique, it was definitely at the inhuman level. The 200-kilogram metal box was easy to carry with one hand. Compared to who would carry the box, he was more concerned about the follow-up arrangements. This is a deserted island, right? Where are we going next? There's a boat on the shore, on the right. Sir, aren't you going to deal with it? Yin Lo was a bit surprised to see Luo Nan leave with the box. Luo Nan was even more baffled. Handle what? This is a framework that can be used for spatial jumps. It's not like there's no one around. Just now, when you came over, there was quite a commotion in the abyss area. If someone followed you here and discovered the setup here, took it away or destroyed it, Luo Nan blinked his eyes. Does it take a lot of effort for you to buy these things? No, it's very simple to order, and there are backups. Then just leave it here. The materials aren't as expensive as labor. Luo Nan explained a few things in passing. You said that this is just a framework. It's nothing more than a temporary airdrop station. It's not a permanent building. The truly useful configuration requires the turbulent interference of the abyss area to be temporarily constructed. The rest of the stuff can be messed around with however you want. Strength was the capital to be willful. Yin Lo was a bit emotional. She could tell that Luo Nan didn't want to waste energy on this sort of thing, so she didn't say anything more. Then she clasped her hands around her abdomen, bowed once more, and invited Luo Nan to head to the shore of the island to board the boat. Luo Nan walked about 200 to 300 steps before he saw a white yacht anchored on the shore. It was quite conspicuous under the curtain of night. According to your instructions, we need to maneuver around North Mountain Lake. The corresponding residence is a bit hard to grasp. So, I made the decision on my own and chose this high-speed yacht. If we use it as a habitat, we'll give up some of the comfort, and our mobility and flexibility will increase by quite a bit. Of course, if you're more accustomed to living on land, we can also stay near the shore of the lake. No, this is a good idea. Luo Nan's eyes really lit up when he saw this yacht. It was for no other reason than that the somewhat vague details of the plan suddenly became clear. It could be considered an unexpected pleasant surprise. Yin Li's mind relaxed. Just Luo Nan's attitude alone meant that the painful process of racking her brains these past 2 days wasn't in vain. Her mind relaxed, but she still maintained a respectful and restrained expression on her face. She just invited Luo Nan to board the yacht from the rear deck and introduced the basic situation of the yacht to Luo Nan at the right time. The yacht's name is Ray. It's Fadi Corporation's Pioneer-class motorboat. It has a classic 3-story structure and its entire body is made of carbon fiber. The boat's length is 24 meters, and it's equipped with a solid fuel and electric dual-drive engine. Its top speed can reach 50 knots, and its steering performance is superior. Since Luo Nan was carrying heavy luggage, Yin Lo first guided him to the residential area of the lower deck to settle him down. This place is completely isolated from the crew cabin. It can guarantee confidentiality and safety. The central area is the master's room. It's the same width as the boat. The living conditions are acceptable. Luo Nan arrived at the master's room of the yacht and put down the heavy metal box. His gaze and mental senses swept over at the same time. What entered his eyes was the luxurious decorations of the cabin. Of course, the most eye-catching thing was the large bed in the middle. It was big enough for 3 or 4 people to lie side by side. There were portholes on both sides that could see the view. There was an office area, a movie area, a restroom, a shower room, and a walk-in wardrobe. It could only be said that the rich were okay. Poor ghosts like them had no way of understanding them. Yin Lo maintained a smile on her face. She let Luo Nan look at the other door outside the cabin. For the sake of confidentiality, I haven't arranged any service personnel in the residential area. However, I'm in the attendant room to the left of the exit. Oh, it's very close. Yinlu tilted her head slightly. For the sake of convenience, the two rooms are connected. If you have any urgent matters that you need me to do, you can find me by pushing open the secret door in the office area. Ha! Yin Li's eyelids drooped. Her voice was gentle and calm. The secret door is a one-way door. It can only be opened from the master's room. Please be at ease with its safety. The atmosphere turned strange. Luo Nan was dazed for a moment. Then he frowned. There's no need to live so closely. Isn't there another room at the bow? I think it's quite spacious. Yin Li's eyebrows were still drooped. That's a VIP room. Mr. Luo, don't you have your cousin in Ban City? If the situation changes, we might need to move her over here. Or if there are other honored guests staying here, it would be quite awkward to adjust the room. What use is this yacht when we need to move Moya? Besides, where would there be other honored guests? The madam said that if Mr. Luo feels that the situation in Ban City is complicated, she can come over at any time to share Mr. Luo's worries. Luo Nan was silent for a moment. His gaze swept over Yin Li's body. Then he nodded. We'll talk about it later. You continue to introduce the situation on the ship. He didn't stay in the master's room any longer. He walked out first. Yinlu followed 2 steps behind him. The crew members are all veteran mad believers of the order. They are all retired military personnel. Their speedboat driving and water operations are all first class. Luo Nan grunted. They really are mad believers. Yinlu raised her eyes and shot a quick glance. Then she immediately lowered her head. She was unable to verify Luo Nan's firm judgment. Or perhaps it was better to say that she didn't dare to verify Luo Nan's judgment. In any case, they could be considered to have settled down now. The living area of the lower deck, excluding the crew's cabins, actually had 3 cabins here. The master's room, the VIP guest room, and the attendant room. A small living room was arranged between these 3 cabins. There was a set of sofas here, and there was a small and exquisite bar counter on the opposite side. The wine rack behind it was filled with all sorts of alcohol. Luo Nan didn't recognize the brand, but he thought that the value of the alcohol placed here must be considerable. Indeed, if there was a professional service staff here, the quality of life on the yacht would soar beyond his imagination. Of course, the reality wasn't bad either. Luo Nan let out a breath and sat on the sofa. He leaned his upper body back, feeling the sofa's soft touch. He felt the northern mountain lake area, Xia City, and even the surrounding areas that were completely different. His attention soon returned to a more meaningful level of information that involved the extraordinary plane. The surrounding aura is very exuberant. Luo Nan chose a more appropriate word. Within his sensing network, the surface of the water, the underwater, the island, and even the sky were all exuberant with life. Or perhaps it could be said that it was exuberant a bit too much. Northern Mountain Lake was once the most active area for mutants in the surrounding areas of Ban City. It was also one of the areas with the most abundant populations. Even though the military conducts a large-scale sweep every year, they can only suppress the intensity of the mutants here. Ban City is already the only place in the surrounding seas that is suitable for a large metropolitan area. Building a city here is just a choice made after having no other choice. Yinlu stood ramrod straight at the bottom of the stairs leading from the master's room to the small living room. She introduced softly. Sit down and talk. Luo Nan just wanted Yinlu's help. He didn't want her to be a slave, so he indicated for her to sit down. Yinlu bowed in thanks, but she first dimmed the lights in the small living room. She opened up the virtual work area and projected the relevant information. Only then did she lightly lift the hem of her windbreaker and sit on the edge of the sofa. Luo Nan's gaze followed Yin Li's movements by some strange coincidence. Chapter 739. It was his first time on a luxurious yacht like the Ray. It would be too pretentious of him not to go to the top deck to enjoy the breeze and experience the feeling of steering the boat, riding the wind and breaking the waves. Luo Nan wasn't a pretentious person, so he agreed to Yin Li's casual suggestion after locking on to their next destination. Thus, the two of them were now on the top deck. The constant temperature system in the room was replaced by the cool and refreshing night wind. Between the spacious water and sky, one's mood would always be a bit different than in a secret room. There was still a certain distance between them and their designated destination. Even though this distance was meaningless to Luo Nan had to consider the detailed requirements of observing and doing things. So Luo Nan let it go for now. He temporarily transformed into a tourist who had just arrived at this place. Under Yin Li's guidance, he opened up the pilot's seat on the top deck. He didn't pay attention to small details like driving without a license. Instead, he began a continuous Z-shaped taxiing journey that shocked the ordinary crew members. Luckily, Luo Nan still had some self-awareness. He could sense the chaotic emotions of the crew members, so he just experienced a bit more before withdrawing. He returned to the sunlit area behind the pilot's seat and tasted the low-alcohol beverage Yin Li had concocted. The refreshing taste of the beverage and the refreshing feeling of the night wind interweaved together. It was indeed very enjoyable. On the relatively spacious top deck, Yin Li still followed her habit of sitting in the living area's small living room. She sat right next to Luo Nan. The night wind blew her beautiful hair, and strands of her hair would occasionally touch Luo Nan's cheek. It was so itchy that he wanted to scratch it with his hand. Yin Li noticed this detail and said, "Sorry." She gathered her hair a bit and adjusted her position, sitting a bit further away. Although it was said to be far away, it was actually limited. Plus, the angle was staggered, making it easier for Luo Nan to clearly see her face and the outline of her figure. Luo Nan's gaze naturally swept over. Speaking of which, this was the first time he seriously sized up Yin Li today. On the deserted island, he only managed to recognize her face and ignored everything else. In the living room, he just stared at her stockings. It was only now that Luo Nan discovered that Yin Li's clothes didn't quite match his impression of the capable manager of Frost River Reality and the deputy first oblatum of the Blood Flame Order. She put on makeup, and the shape of her face and eyebrows became even more exquisite. The dark blue pinstripe windbreaker had a very formal style. The front was wide open, and it naturally revealed the tight-fitting light-colored high-collared shirt. Overall, it was a very intellectual style. She projected the corresponding information over. "According to your request, Mr., a total of 12 tons of consumables have been purchased. This is the list. As for the energy center, we have prepared 2 alternative locations. They are both in the vicinity of North Mountain Lake." The projection area first displayed a satellite map of the banned city area, as well as the important markings on it. Then, it displayed the information images of the 2 alternative locations. Point A, which is also the North Mountain Water Generating Station, is 300 kilometers away from the center of Band City. It is approximately 70 kilometers northwest of your position when you arrived. It is the first batch of emergency infrastructure facilities after the war. It originally had a total installed capacity of 1.2 million kilowatts. It has a total of 4 units, large and small. However, it has basically been discontinued. Only a single 50,000 kilowatts unit is still in operation. It exists as a backup power station for the old power grid. There are still people here. There are no residential areas in the surroundings. The hydroelectric power station operates in an unmanned mode. There will be people coming over to maintain it every month, but it's just a routine matter. Basically, As long as war doesn't erupt and large-scale mutant invasions don't occur in Ban City, no one will care about it. Of course, system monitoring definitely exists. We need to get through certain joints. Luo Nan nodded. It would be much simpler to use the external neuron to deal with system monitoring. The projection area displayed the next set of images. As for Point B, it is located on North Mountain Lake's Claw Island. It is 20 kilometers away from your position when you arrived, Mr. The generator set there is a first-generation miniaturized field combat energy center. It is a complete superconducting generator set, powered by both wind and water. The capacity of this generator set is much lower, it is approximately 3,000 kilowatts. Claw Island was originally a monitoring point for mutants. It also served as a forward base for explorers, but it was captured by mutants once. The casualties were disastrous. Later, it changed hands many times, but accidents always occur. It seems that mutants care quite a bit about that place. They often go there, so the frequency of accidents is quite high. I'll take both of them. Ha! The straight-line distance between Point A and Point B is only 40 kilometers. Both are relatively independent. One is used as an experimental base, while the other is used as a shooting range. It's quite perfect. Is that so? Yinla subconsciously asked, but she quickly regained her composure. She bowed and expressed, since it's like this, I will immediately clean up the loose ends. You just need to sign a temporary rental agreement for Point B. As for Point A, you can use it right now. Luo Nan nodded. He had something to do tonight. It couldn't go any closer, so it temporarily dropped the anchor and stayed on the water's surface. Luo Nan used his sight and mental senses to observe from this position. He was silent for a long time. Yinla cooperatively stayed silent for a period of time. But a few minutes later, she saw that Luo Nan continued like this. She couldn't help but ask softly, Mister, is there a direct relationship between this camphor tree and that person's tracks? The so-called person was none other than Snake Tongue. Yinli's initial goal in coming to Osaka City was to help Luo Nan search for traces of Snake Tongue's body. Snake Tongue was a famous curse master of the inner world. Last year, she went to Xia City in an out-of-body state to cooperate with headquarters in an operation to try and harm Luo Nan. Later, the operation failed, and many people saw Luo Nan use a secret technique to capture her. But no one knew whether she was imprisoned or killed. Therefore, Yinlo and Mrs. Halder weren't the least bit surprised that Luo Nan wanted to search for Snake Tongue's body. As for what Luo Nan was going to do with Snake Tongue's body, whether it was whipping corpses to vent his anger, threatening and torturing them, or using them as medicine, it was none of their business. Being able to consolidate and deepen their relationship with Luo Nan through these matters was the most important thing. Yinla didn't just want to give Luo Nan a good impression through doing things. Before coming here, she and Mrs. Halder had devised quite a few plans on how to improve their relationship with Luo Nan. Over the next few days in Osaka City, she would verify each plan one by one to see which would produce better results. Judging from the situation just now, Luo Nan wasn't completely indifferent to some of her methods. He wasn't angry either. This was a good start, but what to do next to be just right was still a difficult problem that she had no confidence in. She had no choice but to try. Yinla cast her gaze toward Luo Nan once more. Luo Nan was still looking at the camphor tree in the distance, as well as the figures moving under the camphor tree. He was extremely focused. Yinla couldn't guess what sort of scene would appear in his eyes and mental senses, but it made her even more curious. Luo Nan was undoubtedly a mysterious and powerful person. But the deeper she understood, the more she understood that in a certain sense, this person was just a simple and even pure youth. Powerful strength, malicious intent surrounding him, endlessly pushing him through dangerous trials, special experiences during his childhood, good family education. All sorts of complex and contradictory conditions were mixed together to form Luo Nan's special personality that was close to having a split personality. To develop a relationship with such a person. Furthermore, she was in a lower position, so it wasn't easy for her to fawn over him. What's more, she could face a backlash at any time. Luo Nan's chaotic and ever-changing personality was like a set of rapidly rotating fan blades. They appeared to be one entity under the high-speed state, but they were lethal weapons capable of twisting off fingers in a direct confrontation. In fact, it was very likely that it would be her neck that was snapped. Just thinking about it, Yin Li's heartbeat sped up. But thinking about how she had to control a powerful spiritual expert beside her, it was tough for her. Luo Nan's murmur entered his ears while he was doing his best to harmonize his breathing. What a beauty. Are you talking about me? Yin Li's heart skipped a beat, but she soon realized that she had expressed the wrong feelings. This was because Luo Nan had been looking at the shore from beginning to end. His gaze pierced nearly a kilometer of the boundless curtain of night, locking onto a particular point amidst the stream of people coming and going under the camphor tree. Though Yin Lo was also an ability user and a spiritual expert, whether it was her gaze or the distance of her mental senses, they weren't enough to allow her to see the details of the lake shore. She could only indulge her thoughts and speculate. The youth before her really seemed to have reached the age where he was interested in the opposite sex. Luo Nan spoke again, this time to Yin Lo. Can the boat dock? Yin Lo quickly came back to her senses and responded, there are no docks nearby, but the boat is equipped with fishing boats. We can bypass the breakwater in front and disembark from the eastern region. Really? That's great. Our luck isn't bad. Luo Nan no longer lingered on the scene on the shore after he finished speaking. He turned his head and headed to the lower deck. Yin Lu hurriedly followed behind him. She connected Luo Nan's words together and sorted out his logic once more. She suddenly discovered a difficult problem. If he goes ashore for the sake of looking at a beautiful woman up close, or even going a step further. Should I help him? Or should I give him advice? Or should I directly help him? The current Luo Nan was quite different from the image of an obedient child in Xia City. With Yin Li's intelligence channels, she obviously wouldn't take the paternity test incident from a few days ago seriously. But the more she did this, the greater the contrast became. Logically speaking, it's more likely that I'm wrong. But if what the madam said is true, then the current Luo Nan is a depressed child who has just awakened his adult consciousness. He has suppressed his instincts because he hasn't been enlightened yet. After arriving in a foreign region like Ban City, he'll lose his usual restraints. It's not impossible for him to suddenly awaken and erupt. While Yin Li's imagination was running wild, she and Luo Nan boarded the fishing boat that was equipped with the yacht. They took a detour to disembark and spent a bit of time walking from the breakwater to Mr. Zhujiao Weimen. The camphor tree appeared even larger and more majestic up close than it did from afar. Yin Lo was already able to faintly feel the exuberant life force circulating in the surrounding air at this time. She could also feel the chaotic and disorderly power of faith coming from the worshippers around her. The accumulation of a few decades has actually reached this scale. If it's a small religious sect, they can basically use this point to awaken a few ability users who have affinity with this domain. Oh, there are many religious sects in Ban City. Even if most of them don't have a high upper limit, they are still insiders. They shouldn't be blind to this extent. Then, Yin Li's heart was stirred and she looked all around. She had a rather clear standard of search. Soon, she found a monk meditating with his eyes closed in the shadow of an outstretched arm on the west side of the camphor tree. He was called a monk because this person wore a loose robe similar to a kasaya. His hair was kept extremely short. He looked more like a cultivator who wasn't part of the 5 elements. The surrounding citizens who came to pay their respects didn't find this person's existence strange at all. He's an ability user, but he shouldn't be a Buddhist. Compared to the secret orders that supported half the sky of the inner world, the existence of traditional religions was extremely weak in the context of the new era. At the very least, it was completely disproportionate when compared to the scale that practically monopolized the domain of faith before the war. However, once an ability user was born among them, they would often have a more distinct characteristic of a religious sect. Yinlu, who was rich in experience, could recognize it with a single glance. The monk before her clearly didn't possess that characteristic. However, the aura around his body was quite harmonious with that of the Jordan Gate. He was also tainted with the light of faith. He possessed a special quality that was completely different from that of a secular person. He was an awakened, and his strength wasn't ordinary. He even had a bonus in the vicinity of the Jordan Gate. Yinlu furrowed her brows. She felt that she had overlooked too many things in her intelligence-gathering work in Ban City. She immediately made up for it and used special channels to conduct an in-depth understanding. She spent 2 minutes combing through the information. Right when she was about to report it to Luo Nan, the figure of the youth beside her moved slightly. He stepped into the stream of people who were leaving in front of her and went straight back the way he came. "Mr." Yinlu subconsciously cried out, but she soon came to her senses. She pursed her lips and didn't say anything. She just followed closely behind. She thought of what Luo Nan said before and raised her eyes to look forward. Sure enough, there was a woman with a beautiful figure about 7 or 8 people away. She wore a traditional local kimono. Her head was slightly lowered as she slowly walked forward with the stream of people. Yinlu couldn't see the woman's face, but she could see the skin on the back of the woman's neck that was slightly exposed. The woman's gait was as white as jade, and the woman's gait was extremely graceful. The surrounding men and women unconsciously turned their gazes to size her up. She could basically confirm that the woman was a beauty above average. Of course, Yinlu wasn't inferior in the slightest when it came to contorting gazes. This made Luo Nan a bit dissatisfied with her. Keep a low profile. Don't attract attention. Yinlu felt quite wronged at this moment. She was stunned for a moment before responding. "Then I'll go gather some intelligence on that person first." Luo Nan still stared at the woman without letting go. He just nodded in approval. Yinlu let out a breath of relief. At the same time, she vowed to herself that no matter where she went, she would prepare a flying car or some sort of enclosed vehicle. At the very least, she would attract Luo Nan's attention and wouldn't cause him any trouble. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.